Hi everyone, welcome to my first tutorial. I actually have this really cute little Native American girl with a wolf that I am getting ready to transfer to this illustration board. It's a commission, so it's a piece that's already been sold and was directed by the person who ordered it and said, this is what I would like for you to paint. So I am in the process of getting ready to paint this piece, and before I do so, I need to get the original sketch transferred onto this illustration board here. This is a really heavy board type piece. If you try to bend it, it doesn't really bend. It's really thick, it's like 5-ply. And the reason I use this is because I don't really like to use watercolor paper that you have to prepare, and this way that it won't buckle. So I really like this paper. It's made by Strathmore illustration board heavyweight vellum. It's got a really nice smooth surface for all kinds of media, wet and dry, like pencils and pens. So I prepared a few things ahead of time just to show you what I'm going to be working with. I have the original sketch. I have the illustration board it's going on. This is 5x7 in size here. I have the print that I used out of my printer. So I scanned the original sketch, flipped it around, and then printed on regular copy paper. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I have just some tracing paper here, and the type of tracing paper I'm using is just this Canson tracing paper, acid-free. I got it at Michael's. I'm not real picky about tracing paper. And then the pencils and ink pens that I'm going to be using are, I have a 6H Derwent graphic pencil. It doesn't really matter the brand that you use, but this 6H here indicates that it's a hard lead pencil. And then I have an HB Derwent, which is indicative of a soft leaded pencil. And I'll show you when we're going to be using those and for what purposes. I have a 005 Micron. I have an 01 and an 05 Micron. So we'll be using those as well. All right, so to get started, I'm going to move my tracing paper here. This I just kind of use as a reference, so I generally just keep it off to the side so I don't lose any of the original details in the piece. The reason I use an original sketch rather than just drawing immediately onto the final support is for a couple of reasons. I can erase and make, eraser marks and messes and things on the original sketch that I don't want on my final piece here. So I'll sketch it all ahead of time, and then I'll scan it, and then I'll do this transfer process so I have a really nice clean product. I don't have any eraser marks or pencil digs or anything like that. And also the piece is positioned exactly the way that I would like it to be positioned. This particular piece, the positioning came out perfectly. I'm not going to reposition it, but in some cases I might want a little bit more things towards the top or a little bit more towards the bottom, especially if it's a free floating piece. Like if it's a freestanding girl that's full body, you want to make sure it's even all the way around. And in order to do that, you would have to transfer it and make sure it's nice and centered in the piece. This piece is good the way it is. So I scanned it into the computer, and then I went and I made a few adjustments to the contrast. So when you put the tracing paper over it, you get a really nice clean view here. And I am going to first move this illustration support board out of the way because I don't quite need it yet. And I moved my original sketch out of the way. And so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to secure this paper down so that it doesn't move around on me, because once I start tracing, I'm just going to place a piece of tape up here. I'm going to place another piece of tape up here at the top. So now I have a piece of tape on the background sheet and also on the tracing paper sheet. So I am going to use, for this side of things, I am going to use the HB pencil. This is the soft lead pencil. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm creating the layer that's now going to be transferred. So once I trace all of this with my HB pencil, I'm going to flip the tracing paper over onto the illustration board, and then I'm going to rub it on, and kind of, it's almost like a stamping process. Rub it onto the illustration board using the 6H pencil. And the reason I would use a 6H pencil to transfer it on the other side is because I don't really need all that much lead. But I'm going to use the soft leaded pencil for this side because I really want it to transfer. I really want it to get a good stamp. If you use a hard leaded pencil, it's not very easy to transfer, so it wouldn't rub very well onto the other paper. So I am just going to go ahead now and trace all of this, which is going to take me a little bit, so I'll probably have to speed it up. I'm going to start in the upper left hand corner and work this way because I'm right-handed. If I started here and moved up this way, it would rub and start pushing it around, and I don't want it to be messy. So I've got to start up here in this right hand or this left hand corner. Okay, so now that I feel like I am pretty much done getting the basics down of the tracing, I am going to disassemble this, flip it over, and then we're going to go ahead and rub it onto the illustration board. So I'm going to remove my tape, which you really should probably use a low-tack masking tape, but I'm just using Scotch tape. So same thing here, we're going to want to secure this down so that we know that it's not going to move. Just going to place the tape here in the margin, which is one of the things that the margin is for handling and also for framing afterwards. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we have our paper. This is what it looks like now, and we're going to flip it over. So now we have it in the same direction. Of course, it doesn't have the same look without the shading and everything, but we're just outlining. So I'm going to position it on there, make sure that the sides line up, and the top and the bottom, and where the pencil starts and stops. Okay, that looks good. And then I'll just go ahead and secure it with the tape. And let's see, let me grab my 6H pencil. So this is the hard lead. So the reason why I use this and not a stump, a lot of people use a paper stump to transfer, is so that I can see where I've been and where I still need to go on the piece. Okay. So again, I'm still going to start in the upper left-hand corner and kind of move in this direction so that I'm not making a mess everywhere and getting pencil all over my hand. So I'll just start up here, and I'm just going to gently rub. And you don't want to rub too hard because you don't want to leave indentations in your support material, your paper, or your illustration board in the case that I'm using here. Okay, so now that I am done rubbing this on here, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tracing paper. Okay, so you can see that this is very, very light. And honestly, if I just barely touch it, the pencil will probably come off. So at this point, rather than grabbing my ink pens, I usually go back over it with pencil. And I would choose to use the 6H pencil, the harder pencil, because I don't want it to rub off at this point. And then I am going to draw in all of the details, tracing over and solidifying the lines so that they don't run away from me. And then once I'm done tracing all of the pencil and adding in a few extra details, I will move on to the inking process with the ink pens.